Hello there, boys and girls. It's me again, SidAlpha, and I'm coming to you with another SidAlpha story time. This one is not going to be as clean as the previous stories that I've done. This one is involving alcohol and a very young me. Young me that was not old enough to... There's a train going by. Sorry about that, guys. Train sometimes interrupts a little bit, but that's okay. So, where was I? I was telling you that this story is not a car accident story or anything like that, or me pulling off some amazing prank. This is a story from when I was a teenager, when I was a young lad. I was about, how old was I? I think I was 17. 17, yes, I was 17 years old. I know, in the before time, yes, in the long, long ago, there was once upon a time a point in history where this guy was not fucking old. And it may not be that far back as you might think, but regardless, this is a story about alcohol, yes, and partying, as one tends to do when one is young. There was a group of myself and several friends. We decided to go camping in one of our favorite spots over in Montana because it was nearby this small little lake, and it was a beautiful spot. Good fishing, warm, great area, nice open space for being able to have a decent-sized fire. It had everything that we were looking for in a camping spot. And so, and that's, one of our favorite spots. We went camping there all the time. So we go camping there we decided we were going to be there for the whole weekend. And so we go and get set up, get tents set up and everything like that, and get ready, get the canoe out, pushed into the water and everything like that. And, a couple of us were tasked with getting firewood so I'm out there collecting, and my friend Matt and a couple of others are out there gathering up firewood and everything like that. Matt, leave it to the bloodhound that he fucking is, somehow managed to come across somewhere a hidden stash of Huckleberry Moonshine. Yes, that's right. And it wasn't a small amount. No, it was like 30 fucking gallons of the shit. Like just a bunch of 1 gallon jugs, a bunch of little pint ones. A lot of them were broken. They were all glass bottles and everything. It looks like someone had stashed them out there and then forgotten where the fuck they put them, and leave it to Matt. He located some bitches. So we decided, you know what? We'll test it carefully because we have no idea how old the shit is and everything. And so me and Matt, being the complete fucking morons that we were, decided to actually taste it and try it. And, if we ended up dying, then everyone else would, not drink it. But it ended up being fine. It was not good, though. It tasted bad. And I think what did actually go bad, because what happened through the course of the evening was we did end up getting fucked up on Huckleberry Moonshine with a great big fire. And how I know it was bad is because at some point during the evening, I recall saying that I could see through my hand. The fire was making funny faces at me. I was pissing green, and yeah, stuff like that ensued. So there was definitely some mild hallucinations going on there. So I definitely don't think the Huckleberry Moonshine was at all entirely safe, but we continued to drink it anyways, not giving a fuck because we were dumbass teenagers. Extremely dumbass teenagers that were high and drunk at the same time. So that ended up being a thing, and it ended up being a wild, crazy, really weird night. People were taking running jumps, jumping over the bonfire. That was really, really friggin' dangerous. And it was all in all just a really weird evening. I seem to recall at one point making out with not one, not two, but 3 girls at the same time. And we didn't even like each other in that way, so I don't even know how that came about or how it got started. It was all very, very fuzzy. But the main point the reason why I'm telling you this is actually to tell you another story. This Huckleberry Moonshine, after we woke up the next day, we're like, wow, that shit was weird. We packed all of it up. And, packed all of it up, the remainder of it, which, we did end up going through a fair amount, but when you're staring 30 gallons in the face, there's still a lot that's going to be left over. I mean, we had this stuff sitting around for a full year after the fact. We ended up drinking some on the anniversary of finding it. That's how long we had some of this stuff. And we ended up, of course, getting it back. We would add sugar and everything to make it more palatable, filtered it and everything, and ended up being quite tasty. After we filtered it, it ended up losing a little bit of its potency, but that's probably for the best. But there was one other time where we ended up going and camping in a nearby wildlife preserve, and the Sam Owens Wildlife Preserve is a wonderful area. The problem is that the deer that congregate there because they know it's safe. No hunters can get to them, and so there's a fucking lot of them around. Problem is there's not enough food for them to go around, so most of them are stunted in growth. So the full adult deer are about the size of, a yearling. They're fucking tiny. I'm surprised they were adult deer. But they knew they were in an area that were safe, so they were pretty fearless, and we were able to feed them out of our hands, which was the point in going. I'd never fed a deer out of my hand before. I had managed to, I touched wild deer before. It was a weird thing when I was 12 years old. If you could sneak up on a deer, managed to do it somehow, just once, no idea. Could never repeat it in a billion years. But so we went camping at Sam Owens, and we were feeding the deer and everything, and I'm like, I've got like 10 of these pints of Huckleberry Moonshine, and we've got a whole loaf of bread here. Now, bear in mind, this is only a couple of weeks after the hallucinogenic, alcoholic-fueled night that we had. And I was actually camping with, oddly enough, 2 of the girls that I was making out with that night. And so we was like, these deer are perfectly fine with eating out of our hands, and we've got this Huckleberry Moonshine. Deer like berries, right? Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. We ended up getting basically an entire fucking herd of deer drunk off their asses, and you could tell when they're eating the bread, you could tell when it started to take effect, because they started to realize that there was something really wrong and they couldn't do anything about it. Imagine a deer's face just suddenly getting all scrunched up like, oh my god, what is this? And they were stumbling around. We had one deer repeatedly headbutting a tree, which we thought was hilarious at the time because we were drunk off our asses, but now thinking back, I'm worried that I might have given that deer brain damage somehow, or it could have already been brain damage and I just made things worse. But, yeah, so we ended up getting an entire fucking herd of deer drunk, and I'm not talking 1 or 2 or 3 deer, I'm talking like over a dozen of them wandering around nearby our camp, falling over, trashed, and then after a while they'd wander up to us for some more alcohol-soaked bread, which we happily obliged and provided them with to, proceed to have a very fun and entertaining evening. But that is another one of the things that will stick through to me to my dying day, will be the face of that deer as it scrunched up, and its eyes got even wider than I thought they possibly could when it realized something was very, very wrong. And that deer ended up actually passed out. I think it might have been the actually same deer. Was passed out nearby our campfire. So you could see the sight. A bunch of drunken teenagers with a bunch of drunken deer. A few of the teenagers are passed out. A deer is passed out. Could you imagine if the cops had walked up and seen that happening? Oh my fucking god. That would have been one for the record books. So I know, guys, it's not quite as amazing as some of the other stories, but that is very, very stereotypical. That story there is very stereotypical of my teenage years and the drunken debauchery that we had. There are a lot of other stories involving that. I'll try and stick to the cleaner ones because, yeah, we want to try and keep it at least somewhat PG rated for people. So you're not going to get any of the dirty stories out of me, suffice to say. Perhaps next time I'll talk about one of my other campfire adventures, or I can talk about our senior party, which took place a couple of weeks before prom, where the vast majority of not just our high school senior class, but the senior class of another county's high school as well, all met up nearby a mountainside and see what two cops had to try and do to deal with that situation. So maybe that'll be that will though be a story for another time. So until then, guys, I have been the one, the only, the always SidAlpha, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey folks, SidAlpha here. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you want to check out some other First Impressions videos, feel free to click on the link on the left. If you're interested in staying more up to date with what's happening in the PC gaming community, feel free to click on the link to your right. The subscribe button is down at the bottom. Please show your support and punch that evil thing as hard as you can. And once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.